Hello, everyone, and welcome. First off, I'd just like to start off by saying if the video is a little echoey today, it's because I'm in mostly an empty home. My partner Oliver and I, in 8 days from when I'm filming this on August 22nd, we are heading to Mexico. So our house is completely empty. And so this video and the next video will be in this home, and then the next ones you get from me will be in Mexico. I want to thank you all for watching. I truly appreciate your engagement and comments. I'd like to let you know that I started a podcast, which I have been posting here on the YouTube channel. It's called It's About Magic, and it kind of is all of me. I have many different interests. I love learning, and the intention for It's About Magic is to re-bring magic into our lives. Magic is very important. Inspiration, imagination, and dreaming helps us access parts of ourselves where we activate non-reactionary problem solving. So deliberate problem solving. We become more creative when we are in tune with magic and our imagination and our dream time. And so that's what It's About Magic is. It's called It's About Magic because magic, if you go to the root of that word, it means power. The Proto-Indo-European word mag or mog is power. And we now more than ever are being called to step back into our power. We need magic in order to really help with this planetary evolution that's going on. So if you feel called, please go ahead and listen. There's a link below, and you'll to the Spotify podcast, and then you'll find it in my video list. All right, let's dive in. Today we're talking about Gate and Gene Key 59. And this is transiting from August 23rd to August 28th. On the human design side, this is the gate of sustainability, or in traditional language, the gate of sexuality. And in the I Ching, it's dispersion. You'll find this gate in the sacral, and it connects to the emotional solar plexus via gate 6. And this is tribal defense circuitry. This is the channel of reproduction or provision. The transit is really highlighting for us to learn to make choices that are sustainable for self and others, and how we can collaborate and create relationships that are rooted in all of us being enough. None of us are lacking, and we're really being called to really own our enoughness. On the shadow side, you will notice both in yourself and on the world stage, there might be a fight or struggle for survival. And people or yourself, you might feeling like you need to fight others or force others to know that you're right. Righteousness. Oh, I can do that sometimes, especially in my personal relationships, right? I have the 6 connecting the 59, and so I can definitely do that. The sidebar, when I first met Oliver, my partner, he asked me the best first question date I've ever received, hence why we're together and engaged. He asked me, if you put your shadow on your dating profile, because we met online, what would it say? What would that shadow part of you be? And I just was like, oh my God, this guy's amazing. And I said, my righteousness. So just a little sidebar for you. Those shadows, when we know them we can really work with them, right? And when we're not ashamed of them, or when we can name them, we can have deeper relationships. So, in the full expression of this is all about cultivating deep relationships that support the expansion of yourself and the other person, the other people. And to know that when you are blessed, that also serves other people. Gene Key, Richard Rudd named this the dragon in your genome. So, this Gene Key 59, we've got the Shadow of Dishonesty, the Gift of Intimacy, and the Siddhi of Transparency. So, this Gene Key it works really closely with its programming partner, the 55th Gene Key, which is undergoing a massive transformation in both the Gene Key realms and the human design realms right now. In 2027, this gate, this archetype, this Gene Key is going to be very prevalent. And where the 55th Gene Key is very individual in nature, the 59th, Richard Rudd states, is triggering an awakening at a very genetic level for us, like in our human genome. And it's about sex and reproduction and this drive to multiply, as well as our attraction to another. So on the shadow side of this, you find the shadow of dishonesty. And this begins from a deep distrust for another person. And when we have distrust for someone, we stop communicating at the depth of true intimacy because it's scary. I don't want to tell someone who I'm afraid of, right? What's really going on inside. And it's not fear that necessarily is happening inside, but it's in the aura of the other, like in the engagement of the other person, in the space in between. And this is really beautiful because that's actually where relationship occurs, in the space in between two people. Not when two people merge into one. It's actually in that reflection and back and forth with the other where relationship happens. This is also the place where sexual attraction lies. And Richard Rudd talks about how when you stop fearing the other person, that style of sexual attraction on this shadow side, you actually transcend it. Because the fear is what provides the friction that creates that attraction. So he talks too about, this is the one that I'm still contemplating myself, that in our genetics, in this shadow creates the fear, which causes us to reproduce at our current evolutionary stage. So how we are now, we need this shadow, we need this fear in order to procreate. And what happens with this fear is it keeps us having like isolated gene pools. It keeps us separate from one another because there is a fear of something that is different. This is what contributes to countries and borders and wars. But in this difference between people, this fear, this not yet becoming one, we also find the beautiful different religions, cultural expressions, and art as we now know it. And so I think what I'm understanding from it is it's also really important to acknowledge these shadows, because these shadows got us to where we are now, right? I don't know, maybe there was something else before where we are now. This shadow, though, is also the source of hidden agendas. It's secrets. It's not about telling the truth, right? And you'll find this happening out in an excluded way, where there is blaming of others instead of taking responsibility for our own emotions, and where we can keep ourselves separate out of fear. Or in an intrusive way, where we might push into other people's spaces and auras. And then when we feel rejected, because that's most likely what's going to happen, then we exclude ourselves. And we see this play out especially in relationships between men and women. Richard Rudd talks about how with men in this shadow will try to escape from being with one person, and women will try to react by holding on to the man's aura or the aura of another. And so there's this like push and pull that's constantly happening, right? This men are from Mars, women are from Venus type narrative. And the shadow, as we transcend and journey to the gift of intimacy, it's really calling us to look beyond good guys and bad guys. It's about turning towards your fear and then revealing what's in your heart with people. What do you believe about yourself? What do you believe about the world? Where are you dishonest with yourself in your relationships, in your work? There is, I think sometimes what happens in this evolutionary state that we're all on right now is I know I do, and I know people, my friends, we get excited about it. And what I keep reminding myself is we are on the edge, we are on the cusp of a new era. And so we probably will not see these gifts in cities playing out on a majority level in our lifetimes. Our souls will see it in another lifetime, but in this lifetime right now, most likely not see that. And so the question is, how can we continue to live this out knowing that we're going to be impacting the future, right? So the gift of intimacy is so much more than lying in bed after and before an orgasm, right? This is about being with someone in the fear. And it is about accessing higher states of consciousness within intimacy. And this doesn't need to be something like super, energetic. It can just be being with someone when they tell you something deeply painful about what's going on and you stay with them, or they express to you their fear of being in relationship, and then you sit with your trigger and your fear that comes up while they're sharing that, knowing it has nothing to do with you. That's intimacy. That is what creates newness in between people and creates this massive heart opening, which eventually leads to what some call Kundalini rising, higher states of consciousness between one another, and then a re-merging into single awareness. Which takes us into this dispersion back to the all or the universe. And again, I think where our work lies is knowing that that's where we're headed, but not leapfrogging over that shadow and that fear. That fear is a portal way. We don't want to step away from it. So like, if you can go into your relationship where you know you've got something you want to share with the person, and let them know, right? And you can test this out with people who you feel safer with. But this is where we work with Gene Key 59. Thank you so much for watching. As always, if you feel called, please like, share, or subscribe. I also have a meditation that you can get down below from my website. Thank you so very much, and I will see you soon.